no more nice. Friends, friendly, familiar, or truly safe. Not everyone who feels familiar is emotionally safe. Some people are friends, some people are friendly, some people are familiar, some people are simply curious and monitoring your life through access. And some people genuinely care about your well being. But how do we know the difference? Because in a world filled with social media followers, group chats, church culture, work friendships, online dating, and performative connections, many people have access to us without ever truly being emotionally aligned with us. And sometimes the people closest to us emotionally are the very people least equipped to carry our vulnerability carefully. So today we're asking ourselves a difficult question. Are the people in our lives truly safe? Or have they simply become familiar? Welcome to season 3 of No More Nice. And this episode is about friends, friendly, familiar, or truly safe. Hey y'all, I'm Madison Samone Chase, also known as Miss Chase. I was raised by an incredible single mom who is my biggest fan and my BFF, my bestie, my best friend for real. I am a celebrity certified personal trainer, fitness and wellness expert, and sports and entertainment media host. I was born in Fort Worth, raised in Dallas, Texas, and built in Los Angeles, California. I trained at Juilliard in New York City with the School of American Ballet, becoming the world's only 3-time ESPN Miss Fitness champion, appearing in over 450 fitness DVDs. The first of those DVDs was led by celebrity trainer Gunnar Peterson, known for training the Kardashian family. As a personal trainer, I've worked with Robert Pattinson of Twilight and Batman, Chris Tucker of Rush Hour, and Amber Riley of Glee, Dancing with the Stars, and The Masked Singer champion. And as a sports and entertainment media host, I've had the joy of interviewing Richard Branson, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Emma Stone, Viola Davis, Tyler Perry, and Tiana Taylor, to name a few. I share my story to honor the sacrifices my mom planted in me so that I could blossom into the woman I am still becoming. So, if you're listening at home, pull up an actual chair. If you're listening online, pull up a digital chair and grab yourself some herbal tea, hot or cold. And welcome to my cozy home of C2TC8. Cut to the chase at 8. Her circle, and her stands for high performing, empowering, and ready to thrive, because this space was created for women and some men who are growing, healing, reevaluating, and becoming in real time. Because this is where we explore life, spirit, mind, and body through lived experiences and intentional growth. So join me daily for just 15 minutes. That's it, twice a day at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Central. Because this is your daily pause for a cause, for clarity, for wellness, for allowing grace in this space, and for intentional decision making. Each episode, I'll offer 3 things or 3 keys that I'm learning and one reflection question. Something practical, something grounded, and something you could carry with you. So let's breathe in together. Inhale for 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's cut the noise. Let's get clear. Let's get ready. Let's get set. And let's grow. There's a difference between someone being familiar and someone being emotionally safe. And I think many of us discover that difference later than we'd like to admit, at least for me. Especially when you grow up being taught to see longevity in shared spaces, longevity in church attendance, group chats, shared history, or frequent communication as automatic indicators of trust. But familiarity and safety are not always the same thing, and access does not automatically equal intimacy. And that's something I'm learning in real time because some people know your favorite color, your birthday, your fears, your dreams, your relationship history, your family trauma, your business ideas, your insecurities, your prayer requests, and still do not genuinely care about your emotional well being day to day. That realization is uncomfortable. Not because it makes people evil or bad, but because it forces us to reevaluate what we thought closeness actually meant. And honestly, social media has complicated this even more because now people can have constant access to us digitally without having any true emotional investment in us whatsoever. They can monitor you, watch your stories, view your posts, observe your life, consume your vulnerability, track your growth, study your routines, and still remain emotionally disconnected from your actual well being. And that's not intimacy, that's access. And sometimes people don't even realize they become emotionally attached to access instead of connection. And that's why emotional safety matters. And not just in romantic relationships, but in friendships, family dynamics, work relationships, church spaces, Bible study groups, online communities, and even in the people we casually call our friends. Because some people are friends, some people are friendly, and some people are familiar, but very few people are truly safe. And that's where prayer and discernment and watching if words align with action, that's when it really matters. And one thing I've learned is that I got to start paying attention to, is this how people consistently show up for me? Is it how people consistently show up for you? Is often how they truly feel about you. So let me say that again. How people constantly show up for you and I is often how they truly feel about us. Not the words, not the occasional encouragement, not the performative support online. Consistency. Who checks on you without needing something? Who remembers important moments? Who protects your vulnerability instead of collecting your information? Who creates peace instead of confusion? Who reciprocates emotionally instead of simply receiving from you? That matters. And honestly, this has made me reevaluate church culture too. And I want to say this carefully because I still believe faith, community, and how we grow spiritually can be beautiful things, but church spaces can also become emotionally dangerous places for vulnerable people because predators do not always look dangerous. Sometimes they look spiritual. Sometimes they look helpful. Sometimes they even know scripture. Sometimes they know how to perform kindness publicly by privately manipulating emotionally vulnerable people and desperate people in any environment, including church, can compromise themselves trying to gain access, status, relationship, visibility, validation, or opportunity, masking their insecurities. That's real. And many people have learned how to wear masks in spiritually centered environments because they know trust comes easier there and that people are willing to trust them more, which is why discernment matters everywhere. Not paranoia, not bitterness, but discernment. Because everyone smiling at you and saying nice things to your face may not actually be aligned with you. And another thing I've learned is be careful with people who constantly bring you information about others. It could be small things. Because if someone feels comfortable consistently discussing other people's personal business with you, there's a strong possibility your information is also being discussed somewhere else. And that's not emotional safety. That's information exchange disguised as a friendship. And many high performing women stay in emotionally unsafe relationships because familiarity creates comfort. We think, well, I've known this person forever. That's what I said. We go to church together. We work together. We've been friends or friendly for years. They've always been around. But longevity does not automatically equal alignment, and history does not automatically equal safety. Some, Sometimes people are simply just familiar. And No More Nice for me is teaching me that I have to stop confusing familiar people with emotionally aligned people. And that is a hard lesson for myself and I think for some of us because we don't even ask the question, especially when you genuinely care about people, especially when you naturally see the good in others, especially when you spent years being emotionally available, understanding, patient, forgiving, and accessible. But here's where emotional maturity requires us to ask harder questions. Not who likes me, but who consistently shows up safely, honestly, reciprocally, and intentionally in my life. Because some people enjoy access for you and to you more than actual connection with you. And healing sometimes begins when we stop ignoring the difference. I recently experienced something that helped me understand this even deeper. A dear friend and I had started reading a book together as a way to hold each other accountable and grow together. And at some point, they decided they no longer wanted to continue reading it together. And honestly, that was okay. But later, while I was sharing some of the hurdles and emotional growing pains I've been navigating, recently they responded with something that felt dismissive and flippant. And when I assertively corrected what was said, they apologized and then quickly followed it with, "You must be tired." And in that moment, something clicked for me. For those of you who swim or know how to swim, if you've ever watched someone drowning while another person is physically trying to save them, lifeguards are trained to expect resistance because a drowning person is literally panicking. They're fighting for survival, reaching desperately for stability to get their head above water. And strangely enough, that image came to my mind during that conversation. Because sometimes when people are struggling emotionally, spiritually, mentally, financially, relationally, or internally, they may not always have the emotional capacity to hold your vulnerability carefully, too. And while hurt people may hurt people, I'm also learning the opposite is true. People committed to healing often speak in ways that offer hope, accountability, gentleness, honesty, and encouragement. And healing people don't always respond perfectly, but they usually create space for growth instead of adding more harm, which is what that person did. And that situation taught me something important. Not everyone who is your friend has the emotional capacity to carry your cares in every season. And when we are navigating a season that requires more tenderness, support, clarity, or emotional safety, pay attention to how people respond when you become vulnerable. And that doesn't always mean discard them, but it may mean proceeding with greater discernment about what you share, how you share, and who you allow deeper emotional access to you and what you're growing through. Because emotional maturity is also recognizing that people can love you and still lack the emotional tools, awareness, healing, or capacity to meet you where you are. And instead of becoming bitter, healing requires us to acknowledge the truth honestly while adjusting our expectations and boundaries accordingly. And one thing I'm continuing to practice through this season is the PPT audit: people, places, and things. Who feels emotionally safe? What environments drain my discernment? What patterns keep me attached to emotionally unsafe dynamics simply because they feel familiar? And also continuing to practice SAC, spontaneous assertive communication, because delayed honesty creates resentment, and many of us were taught to avoid discomfort instead of communicating boundaries honestly in real time. The healing requires honesty, not harshness, not isolation, not becoming cold, just honesty. And maybe emotional peace begins when we stop giving unlimited access to people who have never demonstrated emotional safety. So, the three things that I'm learning, or my three keys: hurt people may hurt people, but people committed to healing often speak in ways that offer hope, accountability, gentleness, honesty, and encouragement. So, that is key number one, or one of the keys that I am learning, is that healing people don't always respond perfectly, but they usually create space for growth instead of adding more harm. Number two, not everyone who is your friend has the emotional capacity to carry your cares in every season. And when and if you are navigating a season that requires more tenderness, support, or clarity, or emotional safety, pay attention to how people respond when you become vulnerable. That doesn't always mean discard them, but it may mean proceeding with greater discernment about what you share and how you share it, and how you allow people to connect with you when you are having a deeper emotional moment. Number three, sometimes emotional maturity is recognizing that people can love you and still lack the emotional tools, whether that's awareness, healing, or capacity to meet you where you are. And so instead of becoming bitter, our healing requires us to acknowledge the truth honestly while adjusting our expectations and boundaries accordingly. It's important to do that, to acknowledge that. So, the one reflection question is: who in my life consistently creates emotional safety, hope, honesty, and care when I'm in a season that requires deeper support? So, before you go, thank you truly for sharing this time with me. It's an honor to sit with you in this space. So, let's quickly revisit today's three keys that I'm learning. Hurt people may hurt people, but people who are committed to healing often speak healing to you. Key or reflection question number two: not everyone who is our friend has the emotional capacity to carry our cares in every season. Number three, emotional maturity sometimes means recognizing that people can love you and still lack the emotional tools to meet you where you are. And our one reflection question: who in my life consistently creates emotional safety, hope, honesty, and care when I'm in a season that requires more support? So, if today's episode offered you clarity, grounding, or a pause for a cause you didn't know you needed, or if there's anything that I've shared today that pricked your heart or lit a spark, please subscribe and share this with someone you care about, and leave a comment so that this isn't a monologue but a dialogue. And please leave a 5-star rating if you feel led to help this space grow. Now let's close with one breath. We're going to inhale for 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thanks for joining me at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. I will see you tomorrow at the same time. This is C2TC8, which is Cut to the Chase at 8, Her Circle, with me, Madison Samone Chase. Let's cut the noise. Let's get clear. Let's get ready, set, grow, and go, and be great. Until tomorrow, blessings to you and yours.